Well, before I start, I just want to say it's great to see lots of old friends and new friends here at AWE. Thanks to AWE for having me back. This is personally my fourth time here, and our company's fifth. Also want to thank the area for inviting me to talk today, and Bob for moderating this session. Quick note about the shipyard. I don't have a slide on it, but the company's been building ships for 130 years. We were founded by Huntington, the railroad tycoon, to help take his products overseas and support his ships as they did that. And over the course of time, we've innovated on a lot of different things. I think a lot of folks will think of shipbuilding as maybe not the most innovative industry, but whether you're talking wood to steel, rivets to welding, digital enterprise, all the way to augmented reality, a lot of changes take place in this industry because it's a great proving ground because we have so many products, so many people, and so many things to go apply new technologies to. What I'd like to talk today, of course, is a common theme for the event today. It's use cases. Right? We have a very defined way of thinking about them at Newport News. I have blogged about them on the area website, so if you want to go check that out at any point, this will follow that pretty closely. When we start at Newport News evaluating where to apply augmented reality, the first thing that we need to do is we need to identify why. Why are we doing this? It's not always cost. Okay? The customer will typically define where the value comes from. In many cases, it's schedule. In many cases, it's quality improvement, reduction in errors, and many times it's safety. At Newport News, I guess just for point of reference for those that may not know us very well, we've been working in augmented reality since early 2011, thinking about it since 2007. We fielded about 50 projects into the shipyard on a production level, and we're getting ready to do our first scaled rollout this calendar year. We'll talk about that in a few slides. Once you've identified the challenge, the next thing you need to do is assess technology, and that goes beyond just AR, but understanding what the user is trying to do. I think when you talk in an event like AWE, everyone here does AR for a living, right? And that's what we do as well in my group, and we tend to try and shoehorn every problem into an AR solution. And that's not always the best thing to do for the AR practitioner as well as the client. You need to understand what they're trying to accomplish. You need to understand what content they have. How are you going to target and track in a given solution? And then the human factor needs, we've talked a lot about head-mounted and other form factors in this session, and that goes into this portion of your use case genesis. Then you have to assess the readiness level of the tech, okay? And then I'm not talking about the readiness level of the use case. I'm talking about what is it step-by-step instructions. We've heard so much about that. Or is it spatial? Is it expert telepresence? What do you need to go solve the product or go solve the challenge, and what product is available for you to go do that? That takes you into a deployment, hardware, software, testing. Last year I talked very extensively about testing and training. That is really key in this point of actually fielding a pilot that's going to work. And then once you do that, then you get into measuring your return and scaling. So we're going to talk about scaling in another slide or two, but something I'm really, really passionate about. So what was promised, and there's the cameras. How do we classify use cases at the shipyard? We categorize them broadly into about 7 categories. Inspection and quality assurance, work instruction and training are the most mature from a use case perspective, and that's not because they're mature use cases, that's because the technology that's available today are very conducive to those things. Okay. Workflow management, operation or situational awareness, and safety are things we believe that augmented reality will be very good for. We are working in all of those areas presently in very much an R&D mode. I will talk less about those today, but if you have questions, I'm happy to talk use cases ad nauseum. And then for us, the most immature is logistics, tracking people, parts throughout our shipyard. So as we look at what AR can do, these are the things, right? This is what you use AR for. But then how do you go and apply it? you have to consider lots of different things. So there's the product line. So at Newport News Shipbuilding, we build nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, we build nuclear-powered submarines, we overhaul these ships. A Nimitz-class carrier versus a Ford-class carrier has a completely separate data environment. A aircraft carrier being produced and a submarine being produced may have different processes in the shipyard. You have to understand the product that you're working on in context with those 7 use cases. The next thing you have to consider is the product life cycle. So there's new construction, operation, maintenance, overhaul, inactivation, all temporal things in the life cycle of a product that you select that you then assess against those 7 use cases. And then the final axis that we compare against is the trade skill. Who is going to be using this and what special features do they have? If it's a welder, they have special equipment. If it's an inspector, they have special equipment. What does the individual need special for an augmented reality solution that's unique against other disciplines? So when you multiply these 3 axes by those 7 use cases, you wind up with hundreds, right, of possible uses for AR. So then what? Right? How do you figure out what's the right one to go do first? How do you eat this gigantic elephant, so to speak? And that's where you need a trained team. That's where you need people that can think about these problems and say, okay, let's go pilot the smartest one we can come up with and see what we've got. So my prior slide, I talked about 7 use cases. I want to talk about the 3 that are the most mature. And I promised the area that I talk about real things that we've done in the shipyard. So this project that you see is an inspection for a submarine done with AR. So our inspector will walk on the deck of the ship and be able to identify areas using AR. This is the one area that the Navy would not let me show what this looks like. It's really cool stuff. I left it in here because this is our bridge to full-scale rollout. So we're taking this product this year to scale for manufacturing, and it will persist. So of the 50 projects that we've done, we do a one-off, we measure results, bring it back, we chew on it, and then we go do something else. We're exploring the trade space of all these use cases. This one, we saw some really wonderful results. The craftsmen really liked it, conducive to the technology, and we're ready. So we're ready to roll it out. Heard a lot about information assurance. That was in the morning session. That's the big challenge for us, and I think we've got it. We've got a process now where we can encrypt and support AR in an approved way. It's new this year. Very, very exciting for us, and that's going to be a big bridge to enable scaled rollout. Work instructions. So this is where I'm going to stand on my soapbox because they give me a microphone and 20 minutes to talk. We hear a lot about step-by-step instructions. I've heard it 1,000 times in the last day and a half. And I'm here to say that our success typically isn't around step-by-step instructions for AR deployments. AR is a very spatial technology. What it's good for is when I point at a physical object and I can give contextual information in space. I don't need to step through time with AR. I can do that with a VR deployment. I can do that with a tablet. I can do that with something mobile where I don't need to physically overlay it on the physical. And that's where we see a lot of success. So when my team comes and they say, hey, we've got this great use case, I say, why would you do that with AR? Why would you not just give this instruction with what we would call a digital storyboard? Why would you not use, why do you need the camera? Why do you need the physical augmented on the real? And that would be advice that I would give to the community. If you're really looking to understand why work instructions work well with AR, think spatial. So the example that you see here is laying cables for ships. So we're in a compartment on a ship, and we want to lay electrical cables. There's a million hangers in the compartment. All we do is light up the cable trays that you need to put this cable in. And there's no sequencing. There's no next step. Right? You just lay that route out. And that's where AR is really, really powerful and saves a lot of time. Yeah. I didn't do that. Go back and talk one more. All right, so training. The next use case that I think is mature for AR and where we are doing things that are very valuable to both our shipbuilders and to the Navy is training. When we talk about AR for training, there is already a well-entrenched establishment of not touching, Run me back to, yeah, one slide back, please. And I'm about to press the button. Okay, I'm not. Can we stop the video, go back a slide, please? All right, I'm pressing the clicker. All right, nobody touch anything. So people use VR for training today, okay? And when you try and say, well, we're going to use AR for training, and you take it to that community, they say, well, we've already got this really great digital tool. Why is AR better than VR for this use case? The places that it's better is on the deck plate, is on the right side of the value stream where you're producing something, and it's better when you have practicals, when you have something physical to touch. No. All right. My advice to my own team and to folks in the space is don't try and compete against VR for training. VR is wonderful in the classroom. VR is wonderful when you don't have a physical object to interact with. AR is special when you do. And there's a very clean breakpoint, and you can make an informed decision which way you go in that particular use case. All right. I'm going to advance the slide. Before we run the video, I want to preface it. Everything that you see in the video is real. We don't do After Effects Hollywoods in our video, so what you see is what it looks like when you do AR in practice at Newport News. In the video, we're going to highlight 5 of our 7 use cases. I don't have anything to show you for logistics, and the things that I have to show you for safety, I'm not going to show you, but they're really cool. But I'm going to show you an example of each of our other 5. So let's go ahead and roll the video, please.
Today we were going on the ship and actually doing a survey for some temporary structure for lifting pads that were left on the ship. What we were using is an augmented reality program today in which we had a model of all of the lifting pad structure along with the hull structure of the ship. Very useful to see what was there, what wasn't there, and you could actually see what was left. Locating the structure was definitely easy. I actually came up with some structure that I didn't know was there that I'm going to have to go back and do a little bit of research on.
One particular aspect of the app that I found helpful was that I could take this device to the side of the ship and stand with my mechanic and not point at a piece of paper, but look at the actual ship structure and point out exactly what he's going to need to see in order to locate himself on the ship. It's a little bit easier for them to really gain a good perspective of how this cable is going to run from point A to point B. It puts a visual representation right in front of them of what they're trying to accomplish on the boat.
So what we're doing here today is we're taking a look at our latest augmented reality application on the Woodward UGA diesel governor. So there are 3 different procedures that the crew works to with this piece of equipment. There's a removal, an install, and then a startup and adjustment procedure for this piece of equipment. An additional feature we have is the internals, where we're showing a slowed-down simulation of what goes on mechanically inside of this piece of equipment.
Augmented reality has been an important tool used in pipe fitting. We were using it for planning, but using the augmented reality, we could actually see the changes overlaid on the actual physical aspects of the ship. And we were very pleased. I was skeptical about it being useful, but that opinion has changed.
real, right? So use cases. How am I doing on time, Bob? What would I like you to take away from that? So the other thing people say is, well, what are kind of your return on investments? Why do you do this? What are your savings? What are your impacts? There's only a couple numbers that Newport News shares in the public. I'll repeat them for folks here so that you're interested. The very first vignette that you saw, an inspection use case, we were going on the ship inspecting for temporary structure. This is typically done with a large stack of drawings. You flip through, you look for temporary callouts, you put your eyeballs on them, see if they're there or not. Usually not there. Very labor intensive. We conducted a maintenance evolution that was scheduled to take 36 hours traditionally in 90 minutes with augmented reality. That's a 95% cost takeout from a schedule standpoint. So that's our biggest one. That's why I like to share that one. It's the most impact we've ever had. AR, if done correctly, is a game changer. And it's not difficult to convince people that they should employ this technology if you can produce results like that. And the way you produce results like that is you don't pick bad projects. You pick things that are conducive to AR, and that's what you use it for. I think I got one more slide. So that's evaluate, right? Make sure you're using AR for the right thing. Prioritize. So you multiply 3 axes times 7 use cases, you come up with thousands of things to go do. Do the right things first. Okay? That takes expertise, it takes some experience. You're going to have to grow that internally if you like, or you go seek help. Okay? Then you develop a solution. Lots of providers here. I should mention that the toolkit that we use was homegrown over the course of 5 years when we started this. There wasn't anything that could do the complexity and the variability of what we wanted to accomplish. That has grown to a point where we can now repeat projects and turn these things over really quickly without writing a line of C# code. Right? We have designers and engineers that are producing our AR apps for us, and our developers are supporting our toolkit production. From a computer vision standpoint, we've used many in the past. Today, Vuforia is our workhorse computer vision platform. Then you got to get it out there. It's one thing to test it in a lab and run people through putting pegs in holes and doing very simple things. You have to give it to your craftsmen. You will learn new things. I will guarantee it. And there's nothing like getting that feedback. You'll notice in the video, the people that were talking were the users. Right? They weren't the engineers that developed the app. They were the people that consumed it, and you got their feedback. And that's exciting. That's excitement for shipbuilders. That's as excited as they get. But people love the technology. And then scale. For us, it's really exciting. Next year, we're going to come back and talk to you about what a scaled rollout looks like, because we're doing it now. Really, really excited about it. It's a long time coming, but something that we're very proud of. I think that's, evolve. So we're going to scale this product, and as we talk about what is it going to look like, it's going to change. It's going to change next year. There's new technologies. You'll notice every deployment that we showed here was tablet-based. Of the 50 pilots that we've deployed, they're all tablet-based, right? Head-mounted is coming. Our assessment is today. It's not ready yet. That may change tomorrow. But these use cases, these deployments, these scaled rollouts will continually change over time. There's no reason not to scale a rollout because of a technology immaturity of something that you can accomplish that will be better later. You can get 95% tomorrow, but you can get 80% today. Take the 80% today and then grow to the 95% tomorrow. I think that's it for me. We'll be on the panel in a minute. We'll take questions. I know a lot of people were shooting videos and photos of the video. There's an older version already on YouTube. So if you want to go look at it without the version on your phone, go check it out. The way to find it easiest, Newport News Shipbuilding in 2014 entered into a teaming agreement with a third party called Index AR Solutions. Index AR is kind of our outward-looking service arm. If you want to talk to us about helping you with things, that will be done through Index. If you Google Index AR Solutions on YouTube, you'll find that video. You can watch it slower. And this version, of course, will be released probably in about a month to YouTube. All right. Thanks all.